Well, hello everybody. Welcome to this week's webinar from Accounting Fly. So glad you're here, and I'm sure you know the topic already, but today we're going to talk about business etiquette and some important things to keep in mind when you are in the workplace, whether you're transitioning from the school environment, maybe it's your first job, or maybe it's an internship, you're going to be at a firm or a corporate environment temporarily. There are just really some important things to keep in mind. And hopefully, even if you have a few years of experience, some of these things will be some nice reminders just to make sure that you keep some things that can become habit or kind of things that we do without thinking, something to just remind us of what's expected in the workplace. I'm not sure if many of you have joined our webinars before. I'm going to go over just a few basic items that I'd like just to make sure you're all aware of. So those of you who have been on some of our webinars before, I know this will be a little bit repetitive. I apologize for that, but I just want to make sure everybody knows how to particularly ask questions or at least chat and raise some things that are on your mind, or if you have any issues as well with the webinar session. So let me go over a few of those housekeeping items. Over in the right-hand side of your screen, if you're on a laptop or a computer, you'll see a few different options from the webinar provider. And one in particular that I'd like you to make sure you're aware of is the question panel. In this question panel, this is where you can type in, think of it kind of like instant messaging. You can type in questions to me. And I'll do my best to monitor that question panel throughout this hour and answer the questions that you have in mind. And please know, this is something where feel comfortable. You can ask anything that's on your mind. I'd like to try to address it, and if I don't have time to address it during this session, then I will get back with you. I'll respond to your question via email, most likely, but make sure that I try to provide you the information that you're seeking. And don't be shy. This is your opportunity to get maybe some things out on your of your mind that maybe you're not comfortable filling out in other places. So again, that question panel is there for you. And if you want, you can type in, just a listing of we often ask for the school that you're from. So why don't you type in there that you're the school that you're going to, or maybe the school you graduated from. Perhaps you can type in the state that you live in. Just to type in some information there, just so you understand, make sure you know where that question panel is, and you practice it a little bit so that when your questions come, you'll know what to do. Okay? This session is being recorded, as all of our sessions are, and for all of you here attending, and for those who registered, we'll send out the link of this session probably in a day or two. So just keep an eye out for the link of this. You'll receive it via email. And that's one of the things we use your email for. When you registered for this, you probably remember you provided your name and your email address. So we will use that email address to send out the recording of this link so that you can go back and review it. You can share it with whomever if you would like to do that. Okay? And just so you know, that's our standard process and approach to each of these webinars that we have, which we're scheduling once a week now. So hopefully if you enjoy this, you'll continue to receive notifications of various topics of helping you prepare for your career. And again, we'll be here once a week. Typically, we're sticking with right now a schedule of Thursdays at this time. Okay. So don't forget, if you have any questions, place them in the question panel. And if you have any issues where audio or questions around the visuals, just let me know. Again, I'll try to keep a good eye on that question panel. But just as a caveat, it's a little hard sometimes when I'm talking, so I'll do my best with that. All right, so For those who have not been on a webinar before, I'll introduce myself. I'm Deanna Laird, and I'm the National Director with Accounting Flag for University Services. And you probably know that one of our really big interest areas is helping accounting professionals, including accounting students, get prepared for starting off your accounting career. That's what these webinars are all about, and really what our site is about, Accounting Fly site is about. So the topic today is hopefully valuable and helpful for you getting ready to go to a job or being even more successful in a job that you may already have. And business etiquette is a really big deal. Sometimes, it may not be valued, or it may be forgotten, and that's probably even more of the case where we forget about some of the standards that are expected of us. But just to reiterate, it really is a big deal. We need to make sure that we have what's expected, we act as expected, we do things as expected by those in our workplace. Because really what etiquette is creating the standard of operating procedures in a way. And what's tricky is that many times these standards are really the expectations aren't really spoken. They're not laid out to you directly, and you're supposed to know about them. So hopefully the session today will help you think about things that are pretty standard and what will keep you out of trouble, and give you a professional edge, even amongst your coworkers and your colleagues. Okay, so we want to think about kind of the appropriateness, the professionalism of different social behaviors that make an organization a good place to work, make an organization and the people working there interact well with each other, and really it helps with the efficiency and the well-tuned machine, so to speak, when those you're working with and you yourself are working under kind of an expected level of professionalism. Okay, and then what happens if good etiquette is not there? Well, you probably end up with an embarrassing situation. And sometimes it's not necessarily terrible. It could be, a source of laughter in some cases. But in other cases, it actually can be quite severe, situations that are harsh and even up to dismissal. So you just don't want to find yourself in a situation where, you're embarrassed or even under some sanctions or some really difficult situations that you have to explain, or that where some respect is lost with some of your coworkers and leaders. So I'd like to set the stage, and we talked about or marketed this webinar about etiquette, particularly in making a transition from school to work. So just thinking about some of those differences, I thought would be helpful to kind of lay out sometimes why it may be particularly hard if you're making a transition from a college environment to a work environment. And, there are many college environments and expectations placed upon you as a student in a college environment that demand professionalism. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But there are also some certain aspects that really can differ quite greatly from a work environment. So I kind of laid a few of them out here. A college environment, you're probably around a lot of friends, your classmates, and while you might have projects and presentations that require an awful lot of professional work and structure, you also probably have a lot of interactions where it's just fun and casual and it's college, it's school. You have a really nice mix, hopefully, of your work and your fun activities. Also, your daily schedule with your classes, particularly if you may not be balancing a job and classes, you may have some days where your schedule starts, quote, a bit late. You might have a 10 o'clock class on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, or even 9:30. And that's great. That's one of the benefits of setting your schedule at school. But it does, set you, and it certainly can cause you to get accustomed to a schedule that doesn't really quite reflect what your work environment is going to be like. So classes, sometimes, not always, of course, are where your participation can be passive. And what I mean by that, where your professor may be the main speaker, the main engaged person, at least from vocally, and where you're taking notes and listening. That certainly can be engaged, but you're more of a person listening in, not necessarily speaking or presenting your work. So that's sets up probably a fairly common environment that's frequently the setting where you don't have to worry about getting up and presenting or stating the case. Also, in school, you don't have to wear a suit every day. Not that you have to wear a suit at companies every day, but on average, your attire is going to be a bit more casual, likely in the college environment. And then from a commute time, if you live near campus or even on campus, of course, it may just be a walk away for you to get to class and to get there on time. Don't have to worry about parking. Don't have to worry about rush hour traffic. So that's, pretty relatively easy. Now let's do a little bit of comparison to the work environment. So at work, you probably have lots of friends, and that's great. It'll be a great opportunity to meet new people, develop new relationships, build a network of colleagues, and even, with leaders. But there's a professional tone, and should keep a professional tone in those relationships, all right? Even if there's friendship involved, there's important to remember that in your work environment, your colleagues, and certainly your supervisors, managers, leaders, there's always a business undertone. As far as scheduling, most likely your work will be consistently where you need to be at work early in the morning. Now, whether it's 8, 8:30, 9 o'clock, that'll depend upon your particular job. But it does certainly, it's different. It's different than a class schedule. So you just have to be ready for that to manage your day that way. Also in work, as opposed to a passive type of approach, you will likely be more expected to be active participant. Now, don't get me wrong, listening is still really important, right? And learning, taking notes from others is still going to be really important. But you're there to do a job, and you will be contributing or should be contributing in some way on a daily basis to be a good performer. If you compare the attire, the appearance, mentioned that in class, obviously, casual environment, casual appearance. But in work, needs to be a professional appearance. That could be business casual, but it's certainly professional and not going to be as casual likely as what your school attire is. And then from a commute standpoint, you probably have to drive, maybe bus, maybe subway, but there's likely, and in many cases, going to be you have to get from point A to point B, and it's not simply a walk across campus. So you have to plan for that and know how to schedule for that. So those are just some direct comparisons of, that support. Is the college environment different than work environment? Yeah. There's clearly, hopefully, these are good examples that help you understand that even if you have feel like you've gotten a real good professional experience so far in school, it's a bit different. So you can be ready for it. Now, let's talk a little bit more in detail about those. And what I've done is kind of divided up a few key topic areas that are very important for you to remember and keep in mind, okay? So let's talk about co-worker interactions. So think about those friends that you have in school and how much fun it is, studying together, playing together, going out together, it's great, right? And in work, yeah, you can have a lot of fun as well. But the interactions that you have with coworkers need to be, again, with a professional and a business purpose behind it, okay? So here's some tips, right? When you are, let's say it's your first day, right? And you know you're going to be meeting a lot of new people, all right? Be prepared. You know you're going to need to introduce yourself. So practice even and know what you're going to say. Not just your name, but say a little bit about yourself. So be ready with professional introduction of yourself. And make eye contact. This is still a personal relationship, although business relationship, but make eye contact and smile. Those that you're working with most likely want to have a positive relationship with you, and a friendly, engaged relationship will be a good way to get a foot in the door and kind of start off. Even if it's not your first day and you're working somewhere already, you probably know you meet new people all the time. So just be ready and be proactive. Introduce yourself to people, and again, make it friendly. The eye contact and the smile can go a long, long way. Also, a good handshake. I'm sure you've heard about this before. Should be sturdy, should be strong, not crushing. You don't want to break any bones. But this is all just goes along with a comfortable and friendly and welcoming introduction of yourself with other people. Again, it's a good start to a relationship. You're also going to have a lot of opportunities to interact with people over the phone. So kind of go back to some basics on phone etiquette. You want to answer your phone politely, even if you're busy. And sometimes the phone can be an interruption, but remember that it's important to keep the professional, friendly tone in your voice whenever you're interacting directly and also when you're interacting via the phone. It could be a client. It could be your boss. You don't know. Even if you have caller ID and you know who it is, just keep a standard of making sure that you answer appropriately. And don't forget about your voicemail. So when you're not there to answer the phone directly, have a good professional voicemail in your greeting. If you give out your cell phone number, don't forget that if you give out your cell phone number for business purposes, don't forget to think about that cell phone voicemail greeting. You may, for your friends, have a pretty fun one, that gets a laugh out of some people. But if you're going to use your cell phone for business, you probably need to change that and just make sure it's an appropriate message and tone for that purpose. Okay. Different office environments will vary. You may have a private office. You may work in a very open setting with a lot of desks. That could be a team-based environment. You may work in a cubicle. You may be traveling to different clients where you'll be faced with different environments every couple of weeks. So regardless of what the actual setup is, there are some basic things that you should keep in mind. I guess first and foremost, whether there's a wall separating desks and offices or if it's an open space, respect a person's workspace, okay? Think about if you need to talk with them. Are they available to talk with you? Don't interrupt, right? If it's a closed office or office with walls, always knock before entering those offices, and check to make sure that someone is available and able to talk with you at that time, as opposed to just kind of walking right up to the desk and assuming that they can spend time with you. Also, it's really easy, and especially in open environments, to hear conversations that others are having, but they may not be the conversations that you should be a part of. So don't eavesdrop. Sometimes it's difficult because it could be kind of loud and all, but just put your heads down, concentrate on your work, and keep as much privacy out of other people's conversations. Also, on your conversations that you're having, try to keep your volume at an appropriate level. Let's say you're at your desk and you're on a phone call. You don't want to be talking so loud so that others can hear your conversation. One, it may not be appropriate for whatever business topic you're talking about, right, that others should hear. 2, it's just plain, annoying if you're too loud and others can't concentrate on their work. Okay? All right. There will be a lot of expectations placed upon you, and sometimes hopefully most of the time, you'll meet those expectations, but sometimes you just won't. So to really build a strong relationship, honesty is expected. So make sure that you just are open and upfront with situations that maybe you don't have the answer to a question, or you don't have the work finished yet. But you state the case that it is, and then correct the case. Find the answer, or complete the work. Ask for help if you need it. All this honesty will help to build the relationship and help with your coworker interactions, and know that you're approaching this professionally, and with a lot of integrity. Now, possibly, depending upon your work and coworkers, there may be a lot of office gossip, and sometimes this can be funny, kind of fun to get involved with, but boy, it can quickly lead to problems or some difficult situations. So my advice is just to stay away from office gossip as much as possible. Again, it's not to be where you're not, one of the gang or whatever, but just try to, keep your friendships and your relationships with the group away from talking about others or rumors about the things that may be going on. Often gossip just is incorrect. So one, you can not only hurt someone, but you could just be plain wrong. And that could lead to really, some problems, leading people down the wrong road, or leading to assumptions that just aren't accurate. And safe just to keep with, talk about sports, or talk about, other common subjects that are fun, that are not going to lead down, about other people. Okay, and then this last one on this page about manners. A lot of the things that I've already talked about really point at manners already. Manners are important, and if we go back to our childhood and the manners that we were taught or that our parents tried to teach us, seem so simplistic sometimes. But I tell you, they can make the difference in a relationship, and that means they can make a difference in how other people see you, whether or not they can trust you, whether or not they want to interact with you, whether or not they feel that you're professional and that they would want to put in front of a client as a representative of the firm or the company. So just simple things like saying please and thank you are critically important. Okay. So, with all of these don'ts and be carefuls of, can you have fun? Well, yeah, absolutely. You can have fun. Work can be a lot of fun. You just have to keep it appropriate. One of the ways is, keeping a positive attitude. Think back to the gossip. If you hear something that's gossipy, and a lot of times that can lead down to a negative road, just say, you know what? If it's an example about a person who, said something wrong, it's like, I'm just going to think, good about that. I'm not going to trust that source. I have better thoughts about that person. It'll keep you out of trouble. It'll keep you in the right frame of mind, and could, even filter into the way other people think about things as well. Okay. When you're out of the office, so say you go to dinner after work, things can lighten up a bit, right? It's a different setting. It's more of a social setting, and it's great to socialize with coworkers. You can really help to build strong teams that way. Just remember that whatever happens that night, you're going to have to return to work the next day and work with the same people, right? And it's not just the next day, but things that happen can stay with you for an awfully long time. Okay, so Keep it professional, even if it's fun. Remember that a dinner out with the friends who are from work is really first and foremost a dinner out with workers who happen to be friends. And remember what can stay with you later. On watching the intake, and by intake what I mean is drink and alcohol, also food, and also just partying. You just want to be cautious about how much you're indulging yourself with those types of things, either whether it's alcohol or whether it's other activities. And then, one thing that's really important and will also be remembered quite a long time will be if you do have a coworker that, maybe is getting a little bit out of hand or going a little bit off the edge, help them out, be there discreetly as much as possible, help guide them back, help them get home that night, whatever the case may be. But be there as a strong force, and that'll show not only can you handle your own behavior, but you're a strong team player where you can help out other people's as well, and that'll be looked upon very favorably if it's even known. And even better, if it's not known, that's pretty neat saying in testament to the type of person that you are and the type of approach that you have to your business relationships. I'm sure you've all heard the warnings about social media, and you've also seen examples about how dangerous it can be, what is posted up on social media, whether you post it yourself or your friends post it. So just be careful. And even the times that you wouldn't even think that something could happen. I remember when my first role was in a management training team, and we toured all over the U.S. to learn different parts of an operation of this company. And so we were together 3 months, I think. We became really tight. I mean, it was a lot of fun. And one time we were in a small city. We went out to eat, and then we went to this place and danced. Never even occurred to me about someone videotaping that. And this was before the main onslaught of social media and filming things and taking pictures with your cell phones that you have on you all the time. So it was not commonplace. But sure enough, someone did, and the next morning that person showed it to the whole group and got a real big laugh out of it, and I was like, oh my gosh. Now, nothing wrong happened, but it just never occurred to me. I just never thought. So people will do things that you wouldn't, and they will do things that maybe don't even occur to you, and you can be really quite surprised. So think about it. Try to be smart. Try to keep your eye out, and just don't do anything that you would be ashamed or embarrassed about. That's probably the safest thing. Eating. This is an area that, while it can be so much fun to go to dinner, it can also cause an awful lot of stress. From ordering to the actual eating itself, to what you talk about, to just the impact and the environment that a dinner or a lunch can have. So let's talk a little bit about if you're eating at the office. Okay, so you're not going out to lunch and you brought your food in. That's great. It's a great way to save time, save money. But one thing that you need to remember is that, particularly if it's an open office, some foods can have a very strong odor. And, in surveys on business etiquette, one thing that's often brought up is about how annoying strong food smells can be to other coworkers. So keep that in mind. If you're going to be eating at the office, particularly if you're eating at your desk, which it would be preferable to eat somewhere else, but if you need to eat at your desk, think about what impact your food can have on other people. Some people can be very sensitive about it, okay? So keep that in mind. Now, also there are just some basics to keep in mind about, the activity, the physical, physical thing of eating. So very simple, but sometimes it bears repeating. Napkin in your lap, silverware from outside to inside. Don't reach across the table, elbow somebody in the head to reach for maybe salt or pepper. Ask for things to be passed. And then make sure that you just don't talk with food in your mouth. It can be so unappealing, right? And just make the environment or the whole experience not pleasurable for others. You don't want to be known for not having the right table manners that kind of ruined the dinner, or just even made the dinner not enjoyable, right? Think about difficult to eat food. Now, some people can be experts at eating spaghetti, and some will end up with spaghetti sauce all over their clothes or all over their face. So think about, what foods are you comfortable to eating? Shrimp. Do you need to peel shrimp? Whatever it may be. Think about that when you're ordering, and go for something safe if you're just not comfortable. All right. You do not need to feel pressure to eat or drink anything that you're not comfortable with. Okay. Whether it's alcohol and you don't want to drink alcohol, you should not feel pressured to do that. If you want to not eat something that everybody else is having, you should not feel pressured to eat or drink that. All right. So just remember that I can't guarantee that it wouldn't be looked down upon, but if it's looked down upon, then that might be a sign that you're not in the right environment. So there really shouldn't be no pressure on that. Now, if you get to a role where you're traveling internationally, it's just smart to study up on customs and local foods of the area that you're traveling to, so that you're aware. Okay, you still shouldn't feel pressure to eat or drink things that you don't want to, but you should be aware of what is common there and figure out things that you can eat that you would enjoy, and don't wait until you get to another location, another country, for example, and a lot of what you see isn't what you want to eat, and you don't know what to do. Okay, so just be prepared, or prepare yourself for that if you find yourself in that situation. Now, back to the office environment, and say you have a kitchen. Another thing that has been mentioned as a strong, annoying area to a lot of people is when someone takes other people's food in the kitchen, in the company kitchen refrigerator. So bring what you want to eat what you bring, don't eat what other people bring. It's just a taboo. Keep your hands off of it. If you get in a situation where the refrigerator is just overloaded and things need to be thrown out, well, that's one thing, and maybe a group can kind of tackle that together. But you don't want to be throwing things away yourself unless you're given that responsibility to clean things out. You certainly don't want to grab a slice of pizza and think that nobody will notice. Okay, they likely will. So communication style. How do you communicate with people at work to make sure that you're seen, with a professional approach? All right. So you need to use complete, full, professional sentences. We are so accustomed now to texting, right? And shortening our thoughts using acronyms, and just putting phrases, not worrying about sentences. That will not fly in most business situations. That's not to say that you won't ever text with coworkers, but in your email communication, certainly in your verbal communications, you need to have a complete sentences and proofread. Make sure you proofread. If someone else is around to help you proofread, get them to proofread as well. Okay, but forget the texting style. If you've gotten out of the knack of it, then practice. And remember that it's a different environment from your text phone. Don't use slang or inappropriate words, meaning, words that could offend other people. All right, that just goes with the professional style in your communication. When you're emailing, or whether you're using an instant messaging tool or even texting, do not expect an immediate response. Okay, that's another thing we've kind of gotten accustomed to and expect. But in the business environment, people are often in meetings. They could be heads down on a project. They may be traveling. So if you don't get a response back immediately, don't get annoyed. Don't be surprised. They didn't even expect it. So that could impact when you send off messages. Make sure you send them early enough so that you get a response by the time you need it. Giving the responder some time to, have a chance to read the email. And then certainly don't become a nuisance. I remember in one role I had where we used instant messaging a lot. I mean, all the time, really. And that is even more of a communication tool than our email. Certainly for trying to get someone as quickly as possible. But to me, it was always, while useful on some hand, on one, sure, trying to grab somebody, maybe ask a quick question, that's great. But on the other hand, if I was on a phone call, or if I was, really working on an analysis, I couldn't stop, or I certainly didn't want to stop and start answering some text messages or instant messages. And sometimes people would be like, well, are you there? Are you there? And it's like, yes, I'm here, but I'm not answering you for a reason, okay? So just remember that. And if you're going to be out of the office for a while, whether it's you're traveling or maybe you're out for a meeting, just put that in your response back so that people who are trying to communicate with you will know what to expect, that you're kind of tied up for a bit, okay? And on communication, one thing that's so important is to listen and don't interrupt when someone's talking. You'll have lots of opportunity to learn so much. We talked earlier about in a classroom, you're often listening, taking notes, and you'll be more active participant in a work environment. That still holds true, but just don't flip it too much to the other side to where you don't listen anymore. You need to have that balance to where you're a contributor, but you're also still learning and you're working with others. You'll likely be in team environments, and team is where others will be contributing alongside with you. So the cell phones and the laptops, of course, they're great. They're going to be fundamental in your work, but in meetings, put them away. Don't have them out. You don't want your cell phone where it's dinging with texts coming in. You don't want to be on your laptop looking at your email when someone else is talking in a meeting. It's just rude, and it will be looked upon very negatively. Now, of course, if you're expected to be presenting and you have your PowerPoint deck on your laptop, well, yeah, you need to have your laptop there. Or if you're taking notes from the meeting, then you need to have your laptop. So, there's always, could be reasons why it would be okay to have those tools, but not to where they're a distraction or where you're actually working on something else instead of, the topic at hand and why the meeting was called. And if you're in an open office environment or cubicle office environment, you need to have your cell phone on vibrate or silent so that it's not disturbing others. And remember, you can get personal calls into an office environment, but keep them to a minimum. Even if it's emergencies, and you need to take it outside, do that instead of talking, where it could be interfering with others' work. So what do you wear? We talked about the transition where, maybe you've worn shorts and T-shirts and, well, I guess it's been really cold, so maybe jeans and sweaters for so long now. What are you going to wear in your role, in your company? So you want to dress appropriately, obviously, and that does depend and vary by company. All right, so you need to find out, is a suit expected every day? Is business casual expected and okay? What does business casual mean? Try to get a pretty good definition of the expectations and what's appropriate at the place where you're working, okay? And when I say examples, I mean really examples. Even ask, well, on Fridays, are nice khakis okay, or are jeans okay? Is that acceptable? What are others wearing? Things like that to give you some concrete, information so that you'll feel comfortable and you wear what you need to. Right. But also, I think it's good to be a bit on the conservative side and even dress up. So not just keep an eye on what your immediate coworkers are wearing, but what are your managers wearing, and kind of dress up to the position that you may like to have. Okay, it will set a really good tone and a good image for you professionally. So for females out there, skirt length's really important. That's probably one of the areas that is most sensitive, I guess is the right way to say it, or may cause the most questions about. And again, I would err on the conservative side, but ask for examples and ask for the specific expectations. And for everybody, make sure your attire is clean, it's ironed, it's neat. You want to look professional. It sets a tone, and you don't want to be, build a reputation where others, think that you're not dressing the part. Okay. And while cologne and perfume are not really attire, I put them here because I thought it was still kind of fitting. Another area that tends to be talked about in business etiquette responses or concerns is around cologne and perfume. Too much can be just uncomfortable or annoying to others, and in the worst cases, it can even really impact people who may be allergic or sensitive. All right, so you can utilize wear cologne, wear perfume, but keep it light to where the scent isn't overwhelming. Now, a little bit about schedules. We talked about how days at school could start at different times and maybe a little bit later than a traditional work environment. But, at work, it's going to be probably a consistent schedule daily, and it's absolutely expected that you arrive on time to work and to meetings. So arrive on time every time, and even arrive a little early. That'll set a nice example. It'll give you a little bit of extra cushion and assurance, and I think it'll make a really strong statement. So if you have to commute, how do you do this? Well, do a practice run before your first day. If you need to drive from your home to the office, drive it. Make that drive, and drive it during the time that you think that you'll be driving it on the other days. In other words, don't drive it at 10 a.m. when you need to be at work at 8 a.m. You need to experience the rush hour traffic. And that way you can gauge when the time you need to leave. Don't leave it till after your first day, because you don't want to learn and show up late on your first day. Remember, too, that once you get to the office, where are you going to park? Do you have to park at a parking garage down the street? Do you get off at a subway station, you're 2 blocks away? Keep in those kind of ending transportation segments in mind. Sometimes, I've been in office buildings where the security can take 10 minutes, depending in rush hour traffic, because there's lines, and you have to put your briefcase through scanners, and then you have to go up 15 floors. So all those steps should be something that you add into your commute time to make sure that you are there and have plenty of time. And then whenever you get to work or get to meetings, be prepared. Make sure you have the supplies that you need, a pen, obviously, laptop if you're presenting. Just, you don't want to get into a meeting and say, oops, I forgot my pen and paper. Can I borrow some? Not real good to do that. On your lunch hour, don't get in the habit of, oh, 5 minutes late, oh, a little bit extra time here. Stick to your actual lunch time given to you. And you know, that's just a good standard, and you won't fall into a habit of adding a little bit of extra time, which will be noticed by both your colleagues and probably your managers. And then on deadlines, I talked about this a little bit before, but you know, deadlines in business are usually hard deadlines. It doesn't mean that you won't be finished at a deadline every time, but you cannot take those, you know, can't assume that these are soft dates or times that can just be massaged and extended without some pain and possible ramifications. So stick to the deadlines. Try to get things finished even earlier. And if you are having a problem with meeting a deadline, you need to voice that problem and voice it as early as possible. That way, your manager and your colleagues can try to figure out a plan to step in and help you out. And you can, as a team, try to rectify the situation. And again, be honest, honest about the situation. Okay, so those are the key things that I thought were important to talk about today. And I have not done a good job of looking at the question panel during this session, so I'm going to do that now and hopefully answer some of these questions that you have. So let me pull this up a little bit. And if you haven't posted a question, please feel free to do so now. Okay. Okay, here's one. So you live in a cold environment, and the winters can be tough. Yeah, especially this year, right? It's just been really harsh. I have to say I'm in Florida, so I have not experienced the terrible winters that you have. I commiserate with you. But, you know, you're asking, is it okay to wear pantsuits every day? And I will say, most likely, yes. Now, I don't know where you're working. It's always good to ask directly there, ask your supervisor. But, you know, it's so commonplace for women now even to wear pantsuits that they're seen as I think, very professional attire. And it only makes practical sense, especially when it's cold, that you kind of cover up, right? So I want to say 99% sure that absolutely yes. I'm leaving that 1% just as an open gate, just because I don't know exactly where you work, and I do want to leave you just with one message to, you know, it doesn't hurt to make sure directly with your supervisor. All right. Let's see here. You deleted your Facebook account. Can employers still find videos, pictures that friends posted? You know, I am not a Facebook expert, so I don't know, honestly. What I have heard is that it's possible. Okay, I don't know how to do it. And I'm pretty computer savvy, although I do not spend a lot of time on Facebook. So why I say that is that if I don't know how to do it, then I would bet that a lot of people don't know how to do it either. At the same time, though, if someone's on a mission, they probably can do it, because I have heard that it is possible. You know, you've probably heard that once something's posted, it's out there forever, right? And in our privacy controls, you know, the whole ability to control what people see, that's been in an evolution over several years. What I will do is, let me try to find a better answer for you, since I'm not really sure and I'm not a good expert about this, and I'll try to see if I can find some more details and get back with you on that one. Okay, but again, just as a general comment, I just don't think it hurts to reiterate this. So, you know, be careful what you post. ask your friends to be careful too, and be considerate of what they post and tag you with, or excuse me, and be kind of cautious about, say, if you're out with them, what they may be taking pictures of, or whatever access they may have to things that they could post and tag you with. Okay, but just I would keep it conservative. It may not be as much fun as what posting a great picture or a funny picture seems at the time, but I think in the long run you'll be much happier and much more secure. Okay, let me see here. Okay, how do you rebound from not having the best business etiquette? Say maybe you've gotten lax and go with the flow of how others behave by using the cell phone, getting involved in some gossip, even if not on purpose. Sure. Well, and you know what? I think that probably all of us can say that we're guilty of that at some time or another. And that's one reason why just this whole webinar was created, and why I put this together for you. I would bet that there's really not anything startlingly new that I talked about today. I would estimate that you all have probably heard a lot of the topics, or you knew that, right? Oh yeah, of course. That's definitely the situation. But I think in situations with etiquette, a lot of times it's reminders, especially if you've gotten out of practice of it and it's not second nature. So think of behavior just in general. Behavior is formed from repetition and practice, and kind of what becomes the default. So if you've gotten lax on business etiquette, hopefully this presentation it gives you some very good reminders to keep, and even if you find them valuable, jot them down. Keep a little list of things that you might think that you'll need to be reminded about, like practice the commute to work, or check with my manager on the clothes that I need to wear, whatever the case that you think that you need to. But practice. The courtesy, the manners, saying thank you. Just make it a point of reminding yourself that this is what's expected, this is what sets a professional tone, and the way others will want to be working with you. Now, one word of caution. Your coworkers may not have the best business etiquette either, and that's not an excuse for you not having the right business etiquette. If you're in a situation where others are kind of, not doing the things that we just talked about, be the example of, the way you should be, right? And I can pretty much guarantee you that it will be recognized by supervisors and managers and those looking for people that they want to lead the organization. So it can be a way for you to stand out and really, have other leaders take notice of you. Okay. On cell phone use, obviously those are, cell phones are something we're going to continue using every day, and probably even for more and more things in our life, and that's okay. But until they become our laptop, or until they, become our one and main communication tool in business, and they're not there yet, then keep it for, keep the main work tools like a laptop or your desktop computer or whatever as your work tools, and not your tools that are used more in your personal life. All right? If your coworker is gossiping, what can you say without offending my coworker, and that you don't want to be part of the gossip? And that's tough, because I get it. You don't want to seem unfriendly. You don't want to really kind of call your coworker out, right? I think, though, if you fall back on, say, hey, look, I love, going to lunch with you and everything, but I just really, prefer, let's talk about something else. Let's just change the subject. Maybe, have on hand some good topics that you can bring up. And if the coworker continues to say, yeah, but what do you think about, so-and-so doing that. Say, I just really don't have an opinion on it. And honestly, I just kind of don't feel comfortable talking about it because I don't know. I just don't feel comfortable. I think that would work. Just one, trying to change the subject in a friendly manner. And then two, if that doesn't work, then just saying, you'd rather not talk about it. You're not comfortable talking about it. And say, oh, you know what, I really need to get working here. Third scenario is kind of walk away, right? I think you can still do that in a manner where you keep your friendship and you're not seen as, gosh, she's making me feel uncomfortable because I feel like now I'm doing something wrong, which they are, but you don't want to be seen as the one calling them out on it necessarily, right? So hopefully that'll be some, a good approach that you can use to do that. Okay. All right. So I'm looking at the time, and I see that we're at the top of the hour. I'm going to leave the session open just for a few more minutes in case you do have some questions that you'd like to add. And I'd love to, if you want to add some comments about, hey, I wish you would have talked about this, or, I didn't really find that very valuable. I'd like to be reactive and adjust this presentation to help answer really what's on your mind. If this one didn't do it, maybe add some additional material to it. Okay, so let me know if you'd like to on anything that you wish you would have heard more of. That'd be great. That'd be great. All right, but thank you all so much for being here. Hope you enjoyed it. And like I said at the beginning of the session, you will receive a link to the recording. Don't expect it for a couple of days. We just have to, download it and get it all set up. And that takes a little bit of time. But we will send it out to you. And hopefully you also know about our ongoing series. And let's see, next Thursday at this time, we have a session with a professor out in Nova Southeastern University. He's going to be talking about the different certifications as an accounting major. So the CPA, but the other certifications as well. And I think that's going to be a really interesting session because I've gotten a lot of questions from people asking for advice of certifications for different career paths. If you haven't received notification of that webinar, use the question panel on that too, because we did start sending out communication on that yesterday. So hopefully you received it. But if you didn't, let me know and I'll send the link to you directly to make sure that, if you want to join that one, you can. And by the way, if you register but you can't join the actual session, we'll send you the recording. So, but you have to register so that we know to send it to you. Okay? All right. Well, thanks so much. I'll leave the questions open for a bit, but I'm glad you joined. Take care.